Means that do it. Burger
Welcome to Air Checks. I'm your host, Ty Rosenau. Bob and Ray did the show at Carnegie Hall on May 31st, 1984, live. And here's part 2 of Bob and Ray here on Air Checks.
Welcome back to the second half of Bob and Ray, A Night of Two Stars, recorded at Carnegie Hall in New York City. I'm your host for the evening, Word Carr.
And I'm your other host, Webley Webster. This is exciting. The audience is filing back to their places and storing their gum under their seats.
Really, young man, after all, this is Carnegie Hall. Now the house lights dim. The curtain is about to go up.
I told you, there's no curtain at Carnegie Hall.
We get ready for the second act of Bob and Ray, A Night of Two Stars, featuring a special edition of the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show, a soap opera extravaganza, and much more.
Oh, boy.
And now, from approximately coast to coast, it's the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show.
Thank you, and hi, everybody. It is the old Bob and Ray Public Radio Show.
And this time from Carnegie Hall, of all places.
And just to make sure that things go smoothly, let's see if all of the cast is here. Mary Magoon.
I wouldn't be anywhere else, Bob.
And
I came all the way down from Putney, Vermont. No stocking gags now.
all right, I won't.
No.
And Wally Ballou.
Right.
Yeah, good old Wally Ballou. He's on assignment, Bob, but we'll be calling him in later. Here's old-time announcer Kent Lyle Birdley. We may use you, Kent.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Ray, and I certainly welcome sitting in front of these old microphones again. And
Look,
seeing
on second thought, maybe you'd better get some black coffee.
Paul Taubman's already at the organ over there, and Al Schaefer will take care of the sound effects, and we should be just...
How about me?
Oh, we forgot Webley Webster, if you can believe that.
Well, seems like you did.
Our apologies, Webb.
Yeah.
You know, we really should bring you on with your theme, though, Paul. You remember Webb's theme?
Hey, wait a minute. What kind of a theme is that? That makes me sound like from some kind of a hayseed or rube or something.
Yeah.
With
Apple knocker or
hay
something.
sticking out of my ears.
I don't think Paul meant it that way.
Well, if you had any class, you'd let me play the organ myself. I'm quite a musician, you know.
Well, I know you are. I'd forgotten. Why don't you run over there to the organ, and Paul, you can make room for Webley, and what are you going to favor us with?
Well, I've selected one of the classics, Bob and Ray, one I'm sure you'll recognize, Jealousy. And it goes something like this. great, Webb.
Just terrific. Let's have a hand for Webley Webster, ladies and gentlemen.
That's just the introduction.
That's all the time we had allotted for you.
38 years. You never let me play jealousy. I just get through the introduction, and you always cut me off.
Well, next time, maybe we can allow more time, okay?
Okay. Well, let's see. Right now, wait a minute. Yes, we've just gotten word. Ace correspondent Wally Ballou is in Newton, Illinois, covering a human interest story there. And he's all set with his report. So come in, please. Wally Ballou.
Lee Ballou speaking from the main lobby of the Jasper County Elks Club in Newton, Illinois. And we're here today to witness the finals of the National Banister Sliding Contest. Beside me at the microphone is the defending champion, Mr. Speed Harley of West Allis, Wisconsin. Speed, it's nice of you to take time out for this little chat.
Well, I'm happy to do it, Mr. Ballou. I got a few free moments before I'm called up to the second floor to make my third and final slide. I'd love to talk to you.
As I understand it, each contestant makes 3 slides down the long banister here at the Elks Club, and then the times are averaged out.
That's right, Wally. And I think we'll probably see a new record set here today. The banister's been very heavily waxed, and it's lightning fast. Some remarkable times are being chalked up.
Well, now, quite a few of the contestants I've noticed seem to be falling off the banister when they reach the first floor. Is there any reason?
Well, we have quite a few accidents in the national tournaments. As I say, the banister's heavily waxed, and many of the contestants wear these waxed leather trousers like I have on here, and that reduces resistance even further.
They're sort of like Tyrolean shorts, aren't they?
Yes.
Lederhosen.
Huh?
Lederhosen.
Tyrolean shorts, I call them, waxed coated. As I was saying, when you get waxed trousers coming in contact with a waxed banister, accidents can happen. And it's no sport for small boys, I can tell you that.
I might mention for the listeners that this is a particularly steep banister. It has no curves of any kind, and the contestants come down at terrific speed. I notice that almost everybody comes down the banister backwards. They face the other direction when they make their descent.
Yes, that's standard form for competitive sliding. In an exhibition, or as we call it, fancy sliding, you may see a contestant face forward. That's particularly true on a curved banister. But in competition, when you're trying to hunch over and reduce wind resistance, you've got to come down backwards.
Well, you certainly seem to be an expert on the subject, Speed, and I presume you must have been sliding for many years, huh?
Well, I began to slide just for the fun of it when I was a kid, Wally. I think most of us began that way. And then a group of businessmen set up a Sunday morning sliding club back there in West Allis. And I won several club championships there, and I've been coming down here for the Nationals every year since 1979.
And last year, as we all know, you won the men's title.
That's right. I posted an average speed of 327 thousandths miles per hour. And that was good enough to win.
Good enough to win. I notice you're pulling your goggles down now. Does that mean you're about to go up for your third and final slide of this 1984 competition?
Yeah, I'm on deck now, so I'm afraid I got to get going.
All right. Well, thanks for talking with me, Speed Harley, and good luck to you. Speed is mounting the stairway now. He's climbing onto the banister there at the top. Raises his hand as a sort of signal to the official timer, and here he comes.
Don't anybody touch him.
And this is Radio's Wally Ballou in Newton, Illinois, sending it back to Bob and Ray. Once again, we've had our scouts searching the railroad and bus stations around the city for victims of misfortune who need a helping hand from our generous Bob and Ray organization. And our first hard luck story is that of Mr. Jerome Eberhoff of Cleveland, Ohio. I understand, sir, you're trying to get to Switzerland to make the dream of a lifetime come true.
Yes. I've taken lessons for 20 years now from one of the top yodeling teachers in Cleveland. And I'm convinced I'm ready to make my public debut, but I can't do it till I get to Switzerland.
Because yodeling concerts don't draw much of a crowd in Cleveland, is that it?
Well, not that so much. You can't get a good echo there like you do in the Alps. You see, every place in Ohio is too flat. You know, you yodel, and that's it. Nothing comes back.
That must be frustrating.
Oh, you said it. But I'm sure I've got what it takes to do classical concerts on the Matterhorn, but I can't get there to use my great talent.
Well, you've touched us all, sir, and to help you out, we're giving you a fine mohair tuxedo with genuine satin lapels.
Well, that's nice, but I don't see how it gets me to Switzerland.
Use it in good health, that's all, sir. And here is our second hard luck storyteller, a lady, Mrs. Effie Barnhorst of Wenatchee, Washington. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Washington, yes.
According to your card, ma'am, you're trying to get to England to take care of some vital personal business. Is that right?
Well, it's personal in a way, but it involves a lot of other people, too. You see, I recently discovered that I'm the rightful Queen of England.
So you want to go there and claim your throne, is that right?
Yes. I've got nothing against the girl who's holding the job now, but I know my rights.
Well, I don't know whether you have much chance.
Well, you see, my Aunt Esther was married to a Cuthbertson, and his cousins were all in-laws of Queen Victoria on Prince Albert's side. So my late father really should have taken over when the Duke of Windsor abdicated.
Well, you've painted a clear and a convincing picture, I'd say. And to ease your heartbreak in being unable to claim what's rightfully yours, the Bob and Ray organization wants you to have this high-quality blower for your coal furnace. It's from Mr. Paul of Pittsburgh.
Well, I don't have a coal furnace at home. I imagine the one at Windsor Castle already has a blower if it needs it.
You're entirely welcome, ma'am. And finally, here's a gentleman who wants to go to Monte Carlo to take part in a fishing tournament. Mr. Felix Worley of Elko, Nevada.
No, it's not a fishing tournament. It's the World's Championship Go Fish tournament. Go Fish is a card game.
Yeah, I've heard it. It's usually played by children, isn't it?
Oh, I guess a kid might be able to learn the fundamentals if he was real bright. But it's a terribly complicated game the way grandmasters like me play it.
Yeah.
You see, we deal out the cards, and then I say something like, "Give me all your jacks." And if you don't have any, you say, "Go fish."
I think that's pretty much the way I've seen it played by 7 or 8-year-olds, yeah.
Well, I'm sure I could beat almost anybody in that age group, but I'm set for a series with the Russian Go Fish wizard, Boris Splatny.
Splatny.
But I got to get to Monte Carlo where the tournament's being held.
Well, it's tragic to hear of a person's dream about to be broken, but luckily for you, we can help. We have a lovely ceiling light fixture from Emmerich's Lamporama in North Platte, Nebraska for you, sir.
That's nice, but I don't have a ceiling just now. I'm sleeping in the park.
Our best to you, sir. And for now, that's all the time we have for Hard Luck Stories. And now, Mushies, the great new cereal that gets soggy even without milk or cream, brings you another exciting story of adventures starring Tippy the Wonder Dog. As we look in on the isolated cabin of Grandpa Witherspoon today, we find that a hurricane warning has been posted throughout the valley. Gramps is lying on his cot with a blanket pulled up to shield himself from the approaching storm. Meanwhile, little Jasper stands in the front window, watching the rain and wind mount to a furious intensity. Suddenly, the boy turns and speaks.
It sure is blowing hard out there, Gramps.
Well, consarn it all, I know it's blowing hard out there. The storm is going to smash all the windows in this house before that fool dog of yours gets back with the lumber I need to board them up.
You don't need to have a moment's concern about that, Gramps.
Yeah.
Tippy's always at his best in time of disaster. He'll be here with the lumber any minute now. He's the finest, the smartest dog in the whole wide world.
Well, what's keeping him? I always did the hard part, measuring the windows and tying a note around the fool dog's neck saying how many board feet of timber I need.
Well, I guess Tippy might have stopped just long enough to double-check your figures. But I know he'll be here soon. He's the greatest, the smartest dog in the whole wide world.
Well, consarn it all, there was nothing to double-check but a simple column of figures, and I sent that fool dog to the lumberyard 3 days ago.
Well, hey, I think I see him coming up the road now, Gramps. Here, Tippy!
All right, where'd he put the lumber? I gotta get to work.
Sorry, Gramps, that wasn't Tippy I saw. It was just the Charmant's Beagle headed home with a can of kerosene in case the electric lights go out.
Consarn it all, every other dog around here can make it through an 80-mile-an-hour wind to do a simple errand, but that fool Tippy's probably taken cover in a hollow log someplace.
Oh, for shame, Gramps. You know Tippy would never put his personal safety ahead of ours.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's the grandest, the smartest. Oh, hey, wait. I see him coming now. Here, Tippy.
All right, consarn it all, hand me my rain slicker and I'll start boarding up the windows.
Not yet, Gramps. That wasn't Tippy after all. It was only the little mixed breed of the Kippermans. He was headed up that way with a coil of rope to lash down their farm implements.
Yeah, that mutt's not worth what it costs to feed him, but he's still a darn sight smarter than that fool Tippy.
Oh, gee whiz, Gramps. You should have let your mounting fear cause you to say terrible things like that.
Yeah.
Gosh, Tippy's the swellest, the smartest. Oh, hey, wait.
What?
I see him for sure now, staggering up the path through the howling gale to save us in the nick of time. Come on in, Tippy. That's a good boy. Oh, what a good boy.
All right, consarn it all, where'd he put the lumber? On the porch?
He didn't bring any lumber, Gramps. I guess he had all he could handle carrying this old pie pan I used to throw for him to fetch.
I'm gonna whirl that fool dog around by his tail and send him flying into the next county.
Oh, no, wait, Gramps. Don't you understand?
What?
Well, Tippy's trying to show us that we can use this old pie pan for a rain gauge. And then when our readings show that the rain has stopped, we'll know that the hurricane is over. Okay? Boy, gosh, it really took some clever thinking for Tippy to solve our problem that way. But it's just like I told you, he's the brightest, smartest dog in the whole wide world.
Today's fantastic story of adventure has been brought to you by Mushies, the great new cereal that gets soggy even without milk or cream. Join us again soon for more incredible action starring Tippy the Wonder Dog.
And now it's time to present the almost award-winning public service feature, Speaking Out. Now, this is where we invite you, the listening public, to phone in with your opinion on some controversial issue of the day.
Already, I see our phone is lighting up, so let's get right to the first caller. Hello, speaking out. Could I have your name, please?
Yes, my name is Vidal Sassoon, and I live in Dearborn, Michigan.
Really? I thought you probably lived in California.
Well, I used to, but then the authorities had me extradited to Michigan.
Well, then you're obviously not the same Vidal Sassoon.
Well, that's exactly what I told them when they found me with the matches and gasoline can. But they sent me back to Michigan anyway.
Well, it probably has nothing to do with the opinion you called in to give us anyway.
No, probably not. No, the opinion I called in to give is that Calvin Coolidge won the presidential election of 1924.
Well, I'm not sure that's an opinion, sir. I think everybody here considers it a fact.
Well, I did too until recently. Then I made some phone calls at random asking people who they thought won the presidential election of 1924. only 19% said Calvin Coolidge.
I see.
Franklin Roosevelt, General MacArthur both scored higher than Coolidge. Also, there were some scattered votes for Rudolph Valentino, Fibber McGee, the Andrews sisters, and Red Grange.
And so your poll leads you to believe that the 1924 election is still undecided. Is that it?
Well, I'd say it's certainly too close to call. And we may not know until we hear from the traditionally conservative Western states.
That's true. Well, maybe you can report later on. Right now, let's chat with another caller. Could I have your name, please?
Yes? Hello?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mrs. Odie Chilstrom. I'm calling from Kendallville, Indiana.
Well, nice to hear from someone out that way.
Well, I can't imagine why you'd say that. I hear from people around here every day, and they bore me to tears.
You didn't call in just to give us that negative opinion about your neighbors, did you, man?
No, I have a much more important matter to discuss. It's my opinion that a wife should be able to collect on her husband's life insurance when he runs off with another woman.
Well, are you saying that you and your husband are separated, but he's still alive?
He's still alive temporarily. But that's only because I can't scrape up the bus fare to go to California and get my hands around his scrawny little neck. I need his life insurance money to do that.
Well, I guess the company might pay off in advance if you guarantee in writing that you'll take care of the situation, but I don't think it's ever going to become a standard clause in policies. Let's move along to one last quick call here. Could I have your name, please?
I'm Shaky Dopflyer, and I live in a furnished room at Mount Rushmore right under Thomas Jefferson's left ear.
Shaky, before we get to the subject on your mind, could you turn the radio down a little bit?
Oh, yeah, it's across the way.
Telling me we're getting a little bit of feedback, and we certainly want to hear everything you have to say because it would be important. Good that the weather has cleared up, isn't it? We've had so much moisture.
Okay.
You're back.
The radio is in George Washington's nose.
All right.
Now,
what's the opinion you want to give us, Shaky?
I don't think Babe Ruth ever hit 60 home runs in one season. Now, I'm convinced it was all done by an imposter who didn't want his true identity known.
Do you have a theory on who the person really was?
Now, everybody's accounted for that I've been able to check out. I just know it wasn't really Babe Ruth.
Well, do you mind telling us what makes you so sure?
Not at all. The real Babe Ruth was a lady golfer. She never played professional baseball at all.
I think you're thinking of Babe Zaharias.
Oh, yeah. I guess maybe I am. And here I spent most of my adult life checking out my theory. Now I have to start all over again.
Well, our best to you in whatever your next endeavor is. And that's it for this edition of Speaking Out. We have a public service announcement tonight, and it's news for all of you people who bank over here at the friendly National Chemical Loan and Trust Company.
Several of the bank's branches have been moved, friends, and would be obliged if you'd make a notation of these switches.
First, the 79th Street branch of the bank has been moved to 147th Street.
The Wall Street branch is moving to Delancey Street and will be known hereafter as the Canal Street branch.
The 32nd Street branch is now located at 95th Street.
And finally, the Fifth Avenue branch has been moved to Cicero Avenue in Chicago and hereafter will be known as the Outer Drive branch.
Now, there's only one small problem that this all presents, and we feel it can easily be overcome with a little help from you.
The folks at Friendly National Chemical Loan and Trust have lost the records of the bank. The records of your deposits and withdrawals. Now, if you could come in to our main office at the corner of 57th and 11th and tell us honestly how much you have in there, we'd be much obliged. We'll take your word for it.
Sounds like a big problem, but it isn't really if we all play fair and are honest about it. Thank you very much. And now, the makers of chocolate cookies with white stuff in between invite you to join us for another exciting adventure of Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy.
My name is Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy. It's my job to handle the toughest espionage assignments our government can hand out. Recently, I was sent to a small island in the Mediterranean to learn what I could about the submarine strength of other nations in that area. Naturally, I posed as a tourist and headed for a small bar on the island that was a hangout for foreign agents. The bartender was a swarthy man who looked like a member of a ferocious mountain tribe from the interior. He approached me and spoke.
Hiya, Mac. What'll you have?
Make it a very dry banana daiquiri.
Coming up, are you having a nice vacation on our little island?
No, this is strictly a business trip for me. Here's my card. I'm Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy.
Yeah. Nice to know you. I'm Demetrius Minneapolis, bartender. I was wondering how you got in a day ahead of the cruise ship, but I guess you spies always parachute out of airplanes, huh?
No, not always. In fact, I was put ashore last night by one of the 6 nuclear submarines we have cruising in the Mediterranean.
Only 6. My friends and I all thought you had at least 9 around here.
Well, we deploy them very cleverly to create that illusion. I could show you how the little trick is accomplished on my secret map here, but, oh gosh, I don't suppose you'd be interested.
Oh, yes, I would. I love to see how tricks are done. I'm sort of an amateur magician myself.
Well, if you're sure I'm not boring you,
No.
I'll just spread my secret chart out here on the bar. Now, you can see from these red dotted lines how we keep our nuclear subs circling around to make it look like we have more than 6 of them.
Oh, that's clever. Do you mind if I make a copy of that? Using this tracing paper I always keep handy under the bar?
No, not at all. Here, use my pen.
No, thanks. See, this is specially treated paper, so you have to use special ink. That way it looks blank until all my friends put it under infrared lamps. Then the tracing shows up.
Hey, that's quite an idea. You really do like to do magic tricks, don't you?
Yes. I've even made several people disappear. Incidentally, are you sure this map's accurate? It doesn't show any of your subs over in this part of the Mediterranean, between Italy and North Africa.
Well, there's really no need to have any over there. It's impossible for a potential enemy to stir up trouble in that area.
Well, actually, that doesn't happen to be true, but I'll trace the map the way you've got it anyway.
You know, it's too bad my friend and colleague, J26, hasn't arrived yet. He could loan you his sensitive camera to take a picture of that map, so you wouldn't have to work so hard tracing.
Well, as it happens, J26 flew in yesterday, and I've already got his camera, but I prefer a full-size tracing.
It seems strange that he'd loan you his camera. He's under strict orders to keep it on his person at all times.
Well, he was a little reluctant to give it up, but I can assure you he won't be needing it anymore. He's at the bottom of the ocean, about 10 miles offshore now.
Oh, well, then that explains why he left his camera with you then. It's not designed to take underwater pictures. And if he's out at sea enjoying himself, that must mean he's completed our assignment here. So I'll just file my report with Washington saying, mission accomplished by Elmer W. Litzinger, Spy. And now, dining out with Bob and Ray. The informative feature that helps guide you to some of the lesser known but truly outstanding gourmet restaurants around New York.
And Ray and I both have a lot of places to mention, places we've tried recently.
Well, first, there's Eddie's House of Iceberg Lettuce in Long Island City. It's one of those little places that only serves one dish, but really does it well.
Which I presume is iceberg lettuce.
That's right. But it's available with several different kinds of dressing, all available at any supermarket. Now, I recommend you do what I did to sample the pure lettuce taste. Order the jumbo bowl plain with crackers on the side. It's only $4.50 if you take advantage of the early bird prices before 6 o'clock.
I found an unusual place in Forest Hills this week. I was looking for a restaurant that I'd heard about that features Tibetan food, but I couldn't find it.
I'd heard there's quite a large Tibetan colony out Forest Hills way.
Yeah, they always seem to settle wherever there's a well-known tennis club. I know they have the same situation around Wimbledon. Anyway, place I found features Eskimo cuisine.
And you had the special?
Yes, the entree was whale blubber at $12.95.
Anything come with that? Vegetable or something?
Yeah, you get a small side order of moss at no extra charge. And for atmosphere, they keep the place at an even 25 degrees.
Say, here's an offbeat spot. The Waiters Union Practice Hall over on 10th Avenue.
Oh. Isn't that where you get a discount for letting apprentice waiters practice serving you?
Yeah, and a great spot for the budget-minded. Now, I had a veal cutlet with mashed potatoes and peas for only $2.95.
Wow, cheap enough. Was it top-grade cutlet?
Oh, I couldn't say. It fell on the floor while I was trying to serve it. He seemed nervous. Well, they all did. One student who was practicing to be a head waiter was particularly unpleasant.
Well, I guess they have to learn that before they can go out on a regular job.
Well, he admitted that. I tipped him $5 to give me a good table, but he said he had to put me back by the kitchen door because he needed the practice. Mm-hmm. Now, have we covered everything?
I think we have just one more dining out tip, a place we both know well, Ray, the Little Bit of Honduras Bar and Grill.
Oh, is that right? Now, we'd never visited a Honduran restaurant before. In fact, all I know about Honduras was that it produces more bananas than any other country in the world.
Which is why that's probably the only food served at the Little Bit of Honduras Bar and Grill. Of course, there's no need to maintain a kitchen staff when there's nothing on the menu but bananas. So the money that would normally go to cooks and dishwashers can be spent on additional waiters.
Right. And it only takes a short time to prepare a banana. They push a little tea cart up to the table loaded with all kinds of bananas, green, yellow, yellow with brown speckles, brown starting to turn black. And then you make your own selection, and they peel it for you.
Right then and there. Well, there you have a few of our latest findings in the great restaurant world that is New York City.
Well, next time, we'll highlight, among other spots, Bernie's Push Cart on the Green. That's up in Central Park.
And for atmosphere, the Walk-Up Flat Cafe on the 6th floor of an old tenement building just a few blocks from here.
So we'll see you the next time for more tips on Dining Out with Bob and Ray.
Time now for Mr. Trace, keener than most persons. Tonight, the surly old investigator takes from his files the case he calls the overdose of very fatal poison murder clue.
Our story opens in the luxurious New York penthouse apartment of wealthy Jacobus Pike, famous backer of Broadway plays, as we hear Pike call for his valet, Rudy.
Rudy, come here.
You called, Mr. Pike?
Yes, Rudy. I want you to take this manuscript back to Greg Marlowe, young playwright who's secretly in love with my sister Julia, who dreams of a career on the stage. There's a note inside which explains to him my reason for refusing to back his play on Broadway.
Okay, Mr. Pike, I'll be back as soon as possible.
That young upstart thinks he can coerce me into putting up my money for any such ridiculous play as this. He's got another... What? How did you get in here? What do you want? No, don't shoot me with that gun you're holding. I'll do anything. Don't come any closer. No. Oh, you've murdered me. You sneaked in here wearing the disguise of someone I don't know, waited until I was alone, and then you killed me. I'm dead.
Several hours later, Mr. Trace, keener than most persons, and his assistant Spike Delancey are at the scene of the crime, interrogating the suspects in the case.
Well, I guess everyone's here. Marlowe, Rudy, Mr. Pike's valet, Julia, his sister, and you, Spike.
Boss, Greg Marlowe here is a young playwright secretly in love with Julia, who dreams of a career on the stage.
Exactly, Spike. I want to question everybody.
Well, we're all here, Mr. Chase.
Trace, if you don't mind.
The name is lost, Miss Pike, not Chase.
No, Spike, you're peopled. I'm Treater, chasing lost vistas.
Well, aren't you a little misted yourself, Treat?
I'm beginning to wonder whether...
Boss, Rudy the valet is leaving the room.
Hold it, Rudy.
Not so fast. Mr. Trader here thinks you lose people.
Or at least we'll chase it that way for now.
Mr. Loster, you've chosen a lot of treats in your career.
On the contrary, Julia, cheating is not tracing choosers.
And if anyone can lose my boss, Mr. Cheapful here can poop.
Thanks for the vote of treacle, Pete.
I have a headache, Mr. Poet. May I chapel to the Loster and treat?
Not now, Julia. No one is to leave the room until I get back. You're all under suspicion. I think every one of you is lost. And so we leave the surly old investigator as he appears to have solved another case. Listen next time to The Shanty with the Open Door on the vacant lot across from the railroad tracks, Murder Clue.
Well, on that note of high excitement, it would appear that the time has slipped away on this Bob and Ray show, and we must bid a sad farewell.
Well, we know we'll be back before long with another one, and we want to thank our musical director for his help, Paul Taubman, the Wizard of the Wurlitzer.
And our sound effects expert, the Paderewski of the Peach Baskets, Al Schaefer.
And now imagine, if you will, that the applause sign is turned on right after we say...
This is Ray Goulding reminding you to write if you get work.
Bob Elliott reminding you to hang by your thumb.
I'd like to introduce our very talented co-performers tonight, Paul Taubman at the organ. Just great, Paul.
And over to my left, almost lost behind his magical mood-making machinery, our sound effects man, Al Schaefer.
An interesting footnote is that Paul Taubman played the organ for us on our first audition at NBC back in 1951. And Paul has been with us all the years since, playing on our different radio and TV shows. And
we go back a long way together.
We really do.
And Al over here has done sound for us for a good many of our various radio series. Once in a while he'd throw in a clinker. We'd be expecting a phone bell, and he would have the doorbell ring, or we'd be in the middle of an exciting police chase and the car wouldn't start.
Well, sound effects are a lot more simpler now. They have them on cartridges. They just push a button and get what they want. But so long as you have some of that material there, Al, let's show them how you used to do horses for us. There he is. And now a wooden bridge. And, oh, hey, look, here's a fence. Wonderful. Flying red horse. Al, look, save your energy. We're going to use you a little bit later. We'll need all your pep.
Almost forgot to mention that Paul Taubman composed the theme for one of the long-running soap operas on radio and later on TV, and play a little bit of it, see if anybody recognizes it, Paul. some of you remembered it. It's the theme
it.
for, what? Edge of Night.
Edge of Night, right. Paul won an Emmy for that, I think, didn't he?
Just a nomination.
Oh. Sorry about that, Paul.
As long as we have the ingredients here, Paul and Al, soap operas, of course, have been a mainstay with us, and we put together kind of a mini soap opera pageant we'd like to do for you.
Okay. This is, grab onto your seats because this is very suspenseful. The Secret Heart of Sayville.
A story of today and days to come, plucked from the heartstrings of life, written by Fentress Sinon.
In our last episode, Chester Olson and Jack Craven visited the arm of the Statue of Liberty, expecting to find a message left there by Earl Pirro.
That message never turned up because Leela Spots got to the arm first and found the message left by Earl Pirro. Naturally, Chester Olson and Jack Craven left Liberty Island a bit wiser for their experience.
And now Leela Spots had the message, a message really intended for Edmund Gronick, who had left Liberty Island empty-handed.
But Gronick had learned something there, something he was never to forget.
He learned that he'd been too late to pick up the message.
But Gronick had a clue. And he had more than that, as you well remember. He had friends at the International Hotel.
Staunch friends, ones you're all familiar with. Bennett Blanco, Nadine Corey, Constance Cordova, Linda Bisbee, Jean Piper,
Claire Dietrich, Glenn Finney, Nick Catlow, Emma Milhouse, Paul Hope, Samuel Bean, and Cletus Wofford.
So we understood that Gronick was not alone in New York City.
Meanwhile, Leela Spots had run into a few snags. It seemed that her day of triumph had turned into a nightmare. Now that she had the message, the man known as Hard Heels began to follow her.
And wherever Leela Spots went, there was that relentless click, click, click of Mr. Hard Heels.
And most certainly you remember that day at her apartment when she invited Harry DeVoe, Conrad Conway, Arthur Gennaro, Hayes Woodruff, and Dick O'Mara to tea. Leela Spots knew that any one of them might be Mr. Hard Heels.
However, Leela Spots' apartment was carpeted. So nothing definite was learned by Leela Spots that day. But what she didn't know was that her secretary, Selma Stockdale, who wore Oxford shoes, was in reality Mr. Hard Heels.
But Linda Bisbee knew it, and so did Dorothy Ludwig, Bessie Wonder, Rhonda Fertig, James Fulcher,
and Art Craddock, Diane Musgrave, Laura Lemkin, Bert Green, Carl Hotchkiss, Russell Lloyd, Jane Decker, Jarvis Horn, and hello, Edmund Gronick.
And it was at this point that we learned of the more than passing interest which Edmund Gronick had in Selma Stockdale. So it was that a very nervous Leela Spots boarded the ferry to Liberty Island so she could put the message back in the arm.
But she was not alone on the ferry. She had been followed by Gene Zeller.
But that's where we'll pick up the story next time for a continuation of The Secret Heart of Sayville, written by Fentress Sinon.
We fired Fentress Sinon after 3 or 4 episodes like that because it was obvious that he was merely filling up pages with lists of names. And that was the end of The Secret Heart of Sayville.
So we did what we usually do in cases like that. We went back to our old faithful story written by Ole Oleahy, Merry Backstage, Noble Wife. Story of a young girl from a deserted mining town out west who comes to New York to try to find romance and security as the wife of handsome Harry Backstage Broadway star, and what it means to be the wife of the beloved idol of a million other women. As we join them, we find Mary and Harry with their friend, Pop Beloved, stage doorman, welcoming next-door neighbor Calvin L. Hoogerman.
Well, hi. The mother of me is in a catatonic state. And I had no one to talk to, so I came over to rap with you folks.
What do you mean by that, Calvin? There's a lady present.
Talk, shoot the breeze. That's what rap means.
Oh, fine. Have you had your dinner?
No.
Well, join us.
For lunch, I had tomato soup with crackers.
Mary's using her good dinnerware, too, Calvin.
And the hollow stem glasses.
Yes, and the new plastic cruet.
Cruet?
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 Yes, the one I gave you for Mother's Day.
Oh, yes. Fine. Say, I had an interesting experience today. I was sauntering through Penn Station when this gentleman came up and he tapped me on the shoulder. He says, "Do you know, young man, that you've got holes in the heels of both your socks?"
Was it a perfect stranger, Calvin?
No, not really. I've seen him on TV, so I said, "Yeah, I think I know it, Ralph." And he says, "Do you happen to know the name of the manufacturer of those faulty stockings?"
Did you?
No. But I told him that the box they came in was home, and that had the name of the manufacturer on it. I also said the name was on the soles of my socks, but I didn't want to take off my shoe to read my sock in Penn Station.
Well, what's this all leading up to, Calvin?
Well, he explained that he was investigating sock manufacturers and might want me to testify.
Testify? Who in heck is he, Calvin?
Well, here's the card he gave me. His name's Crusader. Ralph Crusader.
Crusader?
Crusader?
Crusader? The famous consumer spokesman?
The same.
Well, I've heard about him. He's the one responsible for the big callback by sock manufacturers.
Right. Last month alone, over 110,000 pair of socks were recalled because the heels were attached with a 1979 type of stitching that could give way after being in a shoe for only 15 minutes.
Can you imagine what would happen if you were driving and your heel suddenly came loose from your sock inside your shoe?
Or if at an important social affair, you took off your shoe and found your sock heel hanging. You'd be laughed at and scorned.
Or imagine the mental strain you'd suffer just sitting in a chair and feeling the heel come loose.
Think of walking around with your heel off your sock and not know it. Running the risk of blood poison, insect bites, and what all.
Now that you mention it, I see more and more people whose socks must have been recalled because they go around with just their bare feet stuck in their shoes. Oh, I'll get it. Hello? Yes, he's here. It's for you, Calvin. General Motors calling. So Calvin appears to have received an important phone call. And there's excitement ahead. You'll want to join us next time when we hear Calvin say,
"Your Honor, I throw myself on the mercy of the court. I plead guilty."
That's in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife.
Gosh, Ole Ole sent Mary and Harry all over the world at various times in the Backstage series. When last seen, as a matter of fact, I think they're outside Buckingham Palace, about to be presented to the Queen.
That's right, I remember that. And of course, the big television soap operas have taken over now, both daytime and nighttime, and we looked them over, Dallas, Dynasty, Falcon Crest, and we came up with kind of a composite of all of them that we call Garish Summit. The unfolding story of intrigue among the socially prominent families of Garish Summit. There in stately splendor, far removed from the squalid village below, they fight their petty battles over power and money. As our action begins, Miss Agatha is staring thoughtfully out the music room window when suddenly she turns and speaks.
There's a strange car stopping out in front, Rodney.
I wouldn't exactly call it strange, Mother. Of course, I never cared for rally stripes on a Rolls Royce myself, but...
No.
You might...
I don't mean strange in that sense. I just never saw it before. And now, a strange man is getting out.
I agree, Mother. He is an odd-looking duck. Ears set too low.
No. You're such a wimp, Rodney. You never understand a word I say to you.
Come in. It's open. Over here in the music room. Now back here in the conversation pit behind the conservatory.
Quite a place you've got here.
Thank you. We like it. We have 46,200 square feet here in the main house. Then the triplets live over in the annex, and that has another
be quiet, Rodney. Whoever this man is, I'm sure he doesn't want to hear you recite a lot of boring figures.
Well, you're quite right, Mother. Maybe introductions would be more in order. I'm the wealthy but spineless young executive, Rodney Murchfield, and this is my dowager mother, Agatha.
Pleased to meet you, Miss Agatha. I've been looking forward to this moment. You see, I'm your long-lost eldest son, Skippy.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm afraid there's some mistake, you sleazy imposter. I'm an only child and sole heir to the Murchfield billions. Mother, tell him you never had another son.
Well, I'm just trying to remember. That would have been about 30 years ago. And there were so many events going on at the country club then that it's hard to keep track of everything.
Mother, he's obviously feeding you a cock and bull story.
No, it's no cock and bull story, pal. I got proof. See, look. Here's a picture of me when I was 4. Mom taught me to see the Santa Claus at Gucci's.
What does that prove? There's no one in the picture but you and Santa Claus.
Well, of course not. A guy wouldn't want his mother in the picture when he's talking to Santa Claus.
Apparently, you take me for a complete fool.
Yeah, more or less.
I'm onto your little game. You fortune hunters are all alike. You learn how Grandpa Murchfield was exploring for oil on this land in 1912 when he struck lead. Proved to be the mother lode, a rich vein of drab gray metal stretching as far as the eye could see.
Oh, knock it off, Rodney. You always tell that story as if you had something to do with it.
Well, sorry, Mother. I guess I get carried away with family pride. After all, he was my grandfather.
Well, he was mine, too. I remember he used to take me on his knee and say, Skippy, someday it'll be your job to get the lead out.
He couldn't have said that to you. He died before you were born.
Oh, really? Well, maybe I heard it someplace else then.
Besides, no one in this family would ever have a name like Skippy.
Well, maybe that's just a nickname. His real name could be something more socially acceptable, like Caldwell or E.W.
Mother, believe me, this man's a fraud.
Caldwell sounds okay to me. Yeah, no doubt about it. That's who I am, Caldwell Murchfield.
See, Mother, he's playing right into your hand.
No, I don't think so. I always liked the name Caldwell. But no one outside the family could have known that. It's good to have you home, Caldwell. Now come along and meet the others.
I wish you'd reconsider this, Mother.
Oh, I already know a part of the family, Mom, like, for instance, Rodney's ravishingly beautiful wife, Jennifer. I know her well. Yes, indeed. I know her real well.
Will this unknown man in the ready-to-wear suit be accepted as a Birchfield without further questions? Can Jennifer provide some of the missing answers? And what about the butler who failed to answer the door when the stranger arrived? Perhaps we'll learn more next time when we hear Agatha say,
No, I didn't write you out of my will, Rodney. You were never in it.
That's in the next episode of Garish Summit.
I haven't had a chance or an opportunity to talk to our next guest here. So I wonder if you would be kind enough to tell us your name and where you come from.
Harlow. P. Whitcomb. From Glens Falls.
New York, right? Glens Falls, New York?
New York. I am president and recording
secretary. Recording secretary. Right?
Secretary of the STOA.
What does that stand for?
The Slow Talkers of
America.
America. We believe in forming our thoughts,
words,
ideas, opinions carefully
before uttering them, so you'll never be misunderstood, right?
And thoroughly before uttering them, so that
you'll never be misunderstood.
We will never be misunderstood. We are here
in New York City.
In New York City, attending our annual
convention, your annual convention. Why?
Membership convention. All of our members are here. All talking
slowly.
Every one of them. All 200
members.
And 50
members.
7 members here talking slowly, as opposed to the members of the
TOA.
TOA. The Fast
Talkers of America.
Talkers
of America.
Of
America.
We have a credo which each
new member must learn.
Must learn. I, a member of the Lee Ballou here in Times Square. I've discovered over the years that some of my best interviews have come from merely striking up a conversation with the man on the street. And this gentleman here looks as if he might have such a story. Could I have your name and what you do, sir?
Ward Smith. I grow cranberries on Cape Cod.
That's always interested me greatly. You have to be very careful of frost, don't you, when you grow cranberries?
Yes, you do. If there's danger of frost, you have to flood the bogs. And then you pick them when they're big and ripe and juicy and bitter as anything.
Well, now, after you harvest the cranberries, Mr. Smith, you have your own processing plant?
What do you mean by that?
I mean, you have your own factory for squeezing the juice out of the cranberries.
Squeezing juice out of cranberries? I never heard of that.
Making cranberry juice cocktail, for instance.
Cranberry juice cocktail?
Well, you sell them to people to make jelly out of, or what?
What, is there pectin in them or something?
I don't know whether there's pectin in them, but they do make jelly. They make cranberry sauce. That's very delicious.
Sauce.
You get that with the whole berry in it, or you can
What is
get...
that, like a dessert you pour over ice cream?
No, you'd serve it with meat or poultry, something like that, kind of a side dish.
Say, do you have a pencil?
Yeah.
I'd like to write this down. I'll forget it. Surer than shooting.
Well, I think you are missing a lot of the uses for cranberries. Jelly, juice, J-U-I-C-E.
I thought there was a J in juice.
J-U-I-C-E. Cranberry sauce.
Sauce, right.
Cranberry bread is very good.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ballou. You've opened my eyes to the many uses of cranberries.
Well, I'm glad I've been able to help you out. Can I ask you just one question before you
sure.
go? All of the years that you've been growing these things, Mr. Smith, what have you been doing with them?
Well, I've been selling them in a basket like strawberries, for cranberry shortcake. And they don't move that way.
I shouldn't imagine. Thank you for talking with me. Wally Ballou, back to the studio. I think we have just time to say hello to two old friends of ours. We almost forgot the non-identical twin band leaders, the Claude and Clyde, the McBeebe twins. How are you, men?
Just great, Bob and Ray. Things are going along just fine
for us. What have you been doing since we saw you last?
Well, we have an ice cream truck
out here in the suburbs.
And, we have our specials. Cherry Jubilee, Maple Walnut,
Butter Crunch.
Hey, but you know
what?
You can have all the specials you want, but you still sell more vanilla ice cream
than anything else.
Put your money on vanilla, Bob and Ray. That's the ice cream that people want. No, full it. Vanilla ice cream.
Vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for talking with us. Good luck to both of you.
Well, thanks. It's always a pleasure to be here with you, Bob. Really, we've enjoyed it very much.
Bob and Ray, A Night of Two Stars, was recorded live in Carnegie Hall in New York City. It was written and performed by Bob Elliott and Ray Goulding.
With music by Paul Tallman and sound effects by Al Schaefer.
Developed and produced by Larry Josephson for the Radio Foundation.
Associate producer Marjorie Van Halteren.
The recording engineer was Charles Petrie. Post-production mixing by Miles Smith. Additional recording by Rich Peterson, Mike Moran, and Tom Perkins.
Production assistants Sue Radikowski, Barbara Suter, and Annette Filan.
Funds from the National Endowment for the Arts, the New York State Council on the Arts, and this and other public radio stations. This is Word Carr speaking.
And this is Webley Webster talking.
This program was independently produced by the Radio Foundation.
Here, tippy.
That was Bob and Ray live at Carnegie Hall on May 31st, 1984, right here on Air Checks. Well, that's it for this hour. Next hour, we'll have more shows for the last hour of the weekend. See you then.